Don't let the haters bring you down. Just keep going. Keep chasing your passions and dreams no matter what. Do not let negative people get between you and your goals.
Interestingly, we haven't seen the indictments yet. There's been some time lag. I suppose it will take some time to go through all the forensic, evidence.
Steve Harvey is sweating, and it's not from stage lights or a Family Feud taping. This is that quiet, nervous kind of sweat, the kind that hits when someone realizes their clean-cut image might be standing on shaky ground because the streets are talking. 50 Cent isn't finished. After blasting Diddy's whole empire wide open with that Netflix reckoning, people online are still breaking it down frame by frame. And now, Fifth's lens is drifting toward the folks who helped prop that world up, whether they meant to or not. And somehow, Steve Harvey's name is getting pulled into the whispers. The timing is rough. Diddy's locked up. Fifth is loud and proud, and suddenly Steve is being mentioned alongside party lists, private rooms, and long-held industry secrets.
Anything you would interpret it as the hip-hop is fine with his behaviors. There's no one else being vocal. So you would look at it and just say, because that mind your business, or let me not say nothing about nothing, or those things, it would allow the entire culture to register as if they're for it.
We all saw how fast things spiraled last year. The Cassie lawsuit cracked everything open, and within weeks, Diddy went from untouchable mogul to court dates and federal heat. There were trials, charges, and footage Netflix swore was legally solid, but behind all that noise, one question kept bubbling up. Who else was around? Who else looked away? And now insiders are hinting that Steve, long sold as TV's moral guide and trusted mentor, might be closer to this mess than anyone expected. But here's where things start looking real uncomfortable. That polished, wise uncle version of Steve might have been just another role he played, because what nobody wanted to say back then is getting said real loud now. Steve wasn't just some random guest popping in and out of Diddy's famous white parties. He was familiar, comfortable, right at home in that circle. Old photos are popping back up, quiet whispers are getting louder, and people who were around during that era say Steve knew that late night scene very well. This wasn't casual business networking. This was being close to power, and that closeness doesn't look so innocent anymore, especially now that 50 Cent is openly lining up part 2 of his reckoning, aiming straight at Diddy's inner circle. And
nobody in Hollywood specifically, when you get there, a lot of people don't know how to say no. That's the difference between New York City.
And then there's the part that's driving social media crazy. Lori Harvey, Steve's adopted daughter. Folks remember that summer in 2019 when Lori and Diddy were spotted traveling together, Cabo, Italy, private dinners, even hanging out with Steve and Marjorie like one big blended situation. At the time, people brushed it off as awkward or just plain strange. Then the story vanished. Now it's back. Heavy. Lori at 22, Diddy at 49. Coordinated looks, public walks, family-style trips. Fans are re-examining every photo, asking what Steve was really thinking while smiling for those cameras.
To check me and be like, hey, what you doing? You good? You need to shake out of it, and maybe be like, okay, yeah, you're right, I'm tripping.
The comments say it all. Where was Uncle Steve? Why stay quiet? That silence, once seen as class, now hits very different. And now things are getting real tense. Word is that 50 Cent is stacking footage, interviews, and first-hand stories from people who worked those events, people who saw everything up close and might finally be ready to talk. If that's true, then Steve's calm face might not be calm at all. It might be fear dressed up as control. People forget this beef didn't pop up overnight. 50 and Diddy have history, and it runs deep. It goes all the way back to 2006 when Diddy refused to release Mace from his Bad Boy contract so he could join G-Unit. That's when the shots started flying. Diss tracks dropped, jokes turned sharp, and hip-hop whispers hinted that Diddy knew more about Biggie's tragic end than he ever let on. For a while, the tension cooled. They even shared a stage once, which made folks think it was over. But by the mid-2000s, 50 was right back online, posting slick jokes and not-so-subtle warnings that felt personal. Most people brushed it off as trolling, until Cassie filed that lawsuit. Suddenly, every old post felt less like a joke and more like a warning hiding in plain sight. Now 50 has crossed a line nobody else dared to cross. He turned years of whispers into a full-blown documentary machine. Sean Combs. The Reckoning hit Netflix in December, and the fallout was instant chaos.
And taking on the responsibility of it. There being the truth, he's not gonna be afraid. 50 will just let my story be my story and not be afraid to change it.
But there are also some people that feel or want to know, and how do you respond to people who say that it's more about the disdain that you have for Sean Combs than it is for giving the
Diddy's camp screamed stolen footage. Netflix stood firm on fair use. Meanwhile, the public was glued to their screens, replaying, zooming in, and sharing every second. Then 50 posted again, teasing what's next, a project focused on the friends. He didn't drop names. He didn't have to. Fans connected the dots, pulling screenshots, guest lists, and old photos. And when Steve Harvey's name started floating around, everything went nuclear. Industry insiders now claim 50's next move digs into the protection culture around Diddy, the entertainers, power players, and media figures who benefited from standing close. The implication here is heavy. These weren't just people showing up and leaving early. Folks online are saying they were enablers, part of the atmosphere that made everything feel protected. And when you line that up against how Steve Harvey has spent years preaching about character, integrity, and faith, the contrast feels almost cinematic. The same man who built a brand around calling out dishonesty might now be trying to stay ahead of a story that paints him in a very different light. And let's be real, 50 Cent moves fast. His first docuseries was announced late 2023, and not long after, it was already a Netflix headline. If he's rolling cameras again right now, Steve doesn't have months to play chess, and he has days. And that explains the sudden quiet. No jokes, no clever one-liners, no statements, not even a soft response. Just silence, the kind that usually comes when a legal or PR team says, stop talking immediately.
Competitive energy,
Competitiveness.
All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him
Okay,
like that.
damn, all right. I didn't know what that meant.
Okay.
Then. All right, okay.
And that silence feels loud. People are also dragging up Steve's past controversies. His ex-wife, Mary Shackelford, once made serious accusations, including emotional harm and manipulation. That lawsuit, reported at around $60 million, was dismissed in court, but the language she used stuck with people online. Now, with the Diddy connection being rehashed, old clips of Mary speaking emotionally are circulating again. Some viewers are saying it feels less random and more like a pattern of someone always trying to control the narrative before it spins out of reach. And let's be honest, Steve's third marriage to Marjorie hasn't exactly been drama-free. Over the years, there have been cheating rumors, step-family tension, and non-stop gossip, all carefully managed by strong PR. But this situation hits different. This isn't tabloid talk or daytime TV shade. This is federal case adjacency. This time, it's not blogs stirring the pot. It's a docuseries with real prosecutors, real witnesses, real footage, and 50 Cent steering the whole thing. A man who built a legacy turning grudges into gold and controversy into clicks. The irony is wild. Diddy once styled himself as New York's party king. Steve built himself up as the king of self-help. And now both crowns look a little crooked. Because as Diddy's famous white parties get re-examined under a darker lens, Steve's motivational empire suddenly feels thinner, less solid. How do you sell family values when your family once broke bread with a man now convicted of transporting women across state lines for what a jury ruled were commercial purposes? That question alone is rattling people. How do you preach integrity when your silence says more than words ever could? Folks close to Diddy say his inner circle worked like a fortress. You didn't get access unless you brought power, money, influence, or protection. So why was Steve Harvey there? What exactly did he offer beyond his name and his bridge to mainstream America? It's a fair question, especially for someone who always claims to avoid mess. Steve sure keeps landing right in the middle of it. Maybe he thought charm was enough armor. Maybe he underestimated how deep 50's investigation would go. But as that documentary keeps moving forward, Steve's once spotless image is starting to feel more like a costume, and the pressure is getting real. 50 Cent doesn't post by accident. Every caption, every teaser, every vague screenshot is placed on purpose. He knows exactly which names will trend and which headlines will go crazy. And sliding Steve Harvey's name anywhere near Diddy's saga is straight gasoline. Fans are already pulling old clips, replaying interviews where Steve talked about forgiveness, second chances, and not judging a man by his worst moment. Those words hit different now. Maybe it was wisdom, or maybe it was protection. Some insiders are saying 50's next project won't just focus on parties, but on the cover-ups, the handlers, the friends, the agents, and the TV figures who helped normalize Diddy's success. If that's true, Steve's presence starts to make sense. He was the bridge, the clean, trusted face that connected flashy hip-hop power to middle America television. And that's why this feels heavier, if even he was nearby. What does that say about how deep this culture really went? And let's be clear, Netflix isn't backing off. Diddy's legal team was already threatening lawsuits before the reckoning even dropped, calling the footage stolen and accusing 50 of pushing a personal agenda. Netflix didn't flinch. So when part 2 lands, there won't be hesitation. The audience is locked in. People are streaming, clipping, sharing, and speculating nonstop, and 50 knows how to drip feed chaos one reveal at a time. Meanwhile, Steve's entire brand, the books, the talk shows, the motivational tours, is built on moral clarity. And right now, that image is being tested like never before. For years, every message Steve put out centered on faith, focus, and family. That was the brand. That was the promise. But now, with rumors linking him shoulder to shoulder with someone sitting in federal prison, fans don't know what to believe anymore. Some people rush to defend him, saying this is guilt by association, nothing more. Others say the silence is way too loud to ignore. Either way, the man who built a career teaching everyone else how to survive chaos suddenly looks stuck inside his own. And the wild part, this story isn't close to finished. There are quiet whispers that 50 Cent's production team already locked in testimony from people who were at those same events. Not bloggers, not spectators, people who work the rooms, names the public hasn't heard yet. Stories that could flip the entire narrative on its head. If that's true, then this isn't paranoia on Steve's part, it's preparation. Because when 50's camera turns your way, there's no perfect answer, only damage control. Right now, the internet is split. Some say 50 is pushing too far, turning serious allegations into spectacle. Others believe he's doing what the system never fully did, forcing uncomfortable truths into the light. And Steve Harvey? He's caught in the middle, hoping this wave passes before it crashes directly on him. But with leaks, rumors, and fresh footage surfacing almost every week, this feels less like a passing storm and more like a reckoning building momentum. And reckoning stories never stop with one person. They always circle back to the people standing nearby. Whether Steve likes it or not, he may be next in line. What's really making people uneasy isn't what Steve allegedly did, but what he might have known. That's the part nobody likes saying out loud, especially in an industry built on shared silence. Former assistants, stylists, and even an event planner are starting to talk, and that's when things usually change fast. People who work those rooms keep saying the same thing. Everyone who mattered knew what was going on. It was an open secret dressed up as luxury. They say you couldn't be around Diddy's world and not notice something felt off. So when Steve Harvey, a man who built his whole public image on virtue and values, keeps popping up as a familiar face at those gatherings, the question shifts. It's no longer just, was he involved? It becomes, how much did he ignore? What really shakes people is how cleanly the timelines line up. In considering 2019, Diddy was still untouchable, hosting those now infamous parties that court filings later described as performance events. That same summer, Lori Harvey was being photographed traveling with him. Cabo, Italy. Private moments that barely raised eyebrows back then. Even that lunch with her parents felt like harmless gossip at the time. Tabloid chatter, nothing more. But once the reckoning dropped and party footage turned into public evidence, those photos came back fast. Suddenly, that smiling Harvey family moment looks different. Less casual, more loaded. Some see quiet approval, others see strategic silence. A few even suggest business alliances hidden behind family bonding. Insiders keep stressing that Diddy wasn't just throwing parties, he was building power networks. Those rooms connected music execs, politicians, actors, and money players. Careers changed hands like poker chips. And when you stop looking at Steve as just a comedian and start seeing him as a businessman, his presence makes more sense. Around that time, his Sand and Soul Festival was struggling to lock in sponsors, while Diddy's Cyrock brand was everywhere. Suddenly, proximity doesn't look accidental at all. Branding was everywhere. People close to that circle say deals were being talked about quietly. Mutual promos, private understandings, handshake agreements that never touch paper. If that's true, then Steve wasn't just popping in for the vibes. He may have been collaborating, trying to keep his own empire steady while cracks were already showing. We've all seen how tightly Steve guards his image. Books about faith, speeches on discipline, daily talk show wisdom about being a better man. That's exactly why his past controversies hit harder now. His second wife, Mary Shackelford, once accused him of serious psychological harm in that explosive $60 million lawsuit, claiming manipulation and emotional damage. The court dismissed the case, yes, but the wording never left people's minds. Terms like soul destruction stuck around. And when you hear Diddy's accusers describe emotional damage using similar language, it's hard not to notice a pattern. Not the same actions, but the same style of control. Charisma mixed with fear. Power masked as mentorship. Even Steve's third marriage, the one that made him the poster face for family values, hasn't escaped the whisper network. Marjorie's name has popped up alongside rumors of financial pressure, quiet separations, and alleged affairs that never fully surfaced. The Harveys deny it all, but silence carries weight, especially now, when every public moment feels perfectly staged. Matching outfits, coordinated interviews, emotional gratitude posts. Some folks think it's less about love and more about holding the narrative together. Because when your image starts slipping, distraction becomes survival, and the parallels are hard to ignore. Steve and Diddy both turned branding into a belief system, and when branding cracks, everything underneath gets exposed fast. Both men built empires that ran on devotion, not just respect. Diddy had his parties. Steve had his talk shows. Different stages, same dynamic, loyal supporters, heavy influence, and plenty of people willing to defend them no matter what. But once the reckoning aired and jurors publicly described Diddy's actions as unforgivable, those defenses started cracking fast. One juror's words hit hard. And after the guilty verdict on those transportation charges, everyone connected had to start asking the same question: how close were they really? Now the fear isn't just about image, it's about survival. 50 Cent has made it clear he's not done, and the next focus is rumored to be the gatekeepers. That word hits different in Hollywood. Gatekeepers aren't the ones on trial. They're the ones who protected the system, the fixers, the silencers. And if that's where this story goes next, Steve Harvey's name suddenly fits the frame. Not as a criminal, but as a symbol. One of the last clean patriarchs of entertainment. And behind the scenes, the industry is already moving. Contracts being reviewed, calls being made, because when that next documentary drops, nobody wants to be caught standing on the wrong side. No official statements, just scheduling conflicts. And we all know what that usually means. Hesitation, pullback. Even the fans can feel the shift. Social media is tearing through Steve's old clips, the sermons, the act like a man speeches, the moral lessons that once felt inspiring now hit different. Some people say they sound less like motivation and more like quiet confessions, and that feeling is unsettling. We're watching the slow unraveling of a familiar archetype, the polished mentor, the trusted guide. Suddenly, every smile looks forced, every silence feels heavy. And for a man who made millions teaching others how to handle pressure, this might be the first time he's losing control of the story. The wildest theory floating around? That Steve's camp may have quietly reached out to 50's team, not to threaten, but to feel out what's coming and possibly influence the edit. Pure speculation, but it says a lot about the panic behind the scenes. Because once 50's camera points your way, you don't control the narrative anymore. The footage does. And with the public glued to every downfall, this story is only picking up speed. What's really being exposed isn't just one man, but the whole system. And right now, even legends don't feel safe. Because if even he is compromised, then nobody's really safe. As we wait on 50's next drop, the real question is whether Steve's carefully polished image can hold up, or if it finally cracks under the pressure. The timing feels way too perfect. The silence feels way too loud. And history shows us one thing every time: panic usually shows up right before exposure. Lately, Steve's been working overtime to project calm, and that alone has people raising eyebrows. It's starting to feel like something big is sitting just beneath the surface, waiting to pop. But what do you think? Is Steve Harvey just caught in someone else's storm, or is this his reckoning finally catching up? He's been sidestepping controversy for years, but we'll be watching closely. Every move, every statement, every quiet cancellation. Because in Hollywood, secrets don't disappear, they just wait for the right camera. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp, stay curious, because this story is far from over.